Have you ever stopped to think that many of your financial struggles didn't start in your wallet, but in how you learned to view money? For thousands of people, debt isn't just a negative number in the bank, it's a constant source of anxiety, fear, and sleepless nights. What few realize is that the Bible doesn't speak superficially about money. It reveals profound principles capable of transforming mindsets, restoring decisions, and rebuilding futures that seemed lost. In this video, you'll discover that prosperity isn't just about how much you earn, but about how you think, decide, and act with the resources God places in your hands. If you feel you work hard but never get anywhere, or if money always seems to slip through your fingers, this content is for you. So stay until the end, because the last secret is one of the most important. Like and subscribe to the channel. Secret 1. God works with order, not chaos. Many people pray for prosperity, but live financially by improvisation. They spend without planning, make commitments without clarity, and make decisions guided by the emotion of the moment. The problem is not a lack of faith, but lack of order. God does not bless disorganization because it generates confusion, burnout, and loss of direction. When we don't know exactly how much we earn, how much we spend, or where the money is going, we create an environment conducive to anxiety, debt, and frustration. Financial order begins with awareness. It's the moment when a person stops running from reality and decides to face it with maturity. This requires courage because organizing finances often reveals past mistakes, thoughtless choices, and harmful habits. But it is precisely at this point that transformation begins. The Bible teaches us that the truth sets us free, and in the financial field, it's no different. Seeing reality as it is open space for practical and lasting changes. When we bring order to our money, we are aligning our lives with a divine principle. This means establishing priorities, creating boundaries, and giving a name to each resource. Order defines what is essential and what is superfluous. It teaches us to say no to expenses that sabotage the future and yes to decisions that build stability. People who live without financial order generally spend their lives putting out fires, always playing catch-up, without peace, and without a long-term vision. God is not a God of confusion. Therefore, when we choose to organize our finances, we are creating an environment where wisdom can operate. Order brings clarity, and clarity brings direction. With direction, choices cease to be impulsive and become strategic. Small actions such as recording expenses, planning spending, and respecting limits seem simple, but they carry a profound spiritual power. They restore control over what previously seemed out of control. This secret teaches us that prosperity doesn't begin with more money, but with better management of what we already have. Many believe that their financial problems would be solved if they earn more, when in reality the chaos would only increase. Without order, more money means more confusion. With order, even limited resources can generate growth, tranquility, and hope. Secret 2. The invisible slavery of consumption. Consumption, in itself, is not the problem. The Bible does not condemn the use of resources or the enjoyment of the fruits of labor. The danger begins when consumption ceases to be a conscious need and becomes an emotional response. Many financial decisions are not made due to a lack of something essential, but to fill internal voids, relieve tension, or feed a momentary feeling of reward. It is at this point that consumption ceases to serve the person and begins to dominate them. The slavery of consumption is invisible because it is rarely perceived as such. It disguises itself as normality. It is present in small impulsive purchases, in seemingly harmless installment plans, in the constant search for something new that promises immediate satisfaction. Society reinforces this logic daily, teaching that having more is synonymous with success, and that spending is a legitimate way to feel valued. Little by little, the heart begins to incline more towards what can be bought than towards what truly sustains life. Biblically, this behavior reveals a dangerous inversion. When desire begins to control decisions, money takes a place it should never occupy. The person works, but does not enjoy peace. They earn, but never feel satisfied. They buy, but soon feel the need to buy again. It's a cycle that imprisons because the more one consumes unconsciously, the more dependent one becomes on this pattern to feel good. This type of slavery doesn't begin in the wallet, it begins within. It feeds on comparison, anxiety, and the fear of falling behind. Many people consume to maintain an image, to prove something to others or even to themselves. However, the Bible teaches that true freedom lies not in possessing much, but in not being dominated by anything. When consumption governs, freedom diminishes, and financial life becomes driven by impulses, not purpose. Breaking free from this slavery requires more than willpower. It demands spiritual awareness. It's necessary to learn to ask before each decision, is this a real need or an emotional response? This simple reflection begins to break chains. It returns control, restores self-mastery, and reconnects financial decisions with deeper values. The Bible treats self-control as inner wealth because whoever masters their desires will never be easily dominated by circumstances. Secret 3. The spiritual value of discipline. Many people desire financial stability, but reject the discipline necessary to sustain it. This happens because discipline has been culturally associated with loss, rigidity, and deprivation. However, from a biblical perspective, it is an expression of love, maturity, and wisdom. God disciplines because He cares about growth, and the same principle applies to financial life. Discipline does not take away freedom. It builds it and manifests itself in daily choices, usually small and silent. It appears when someone decides to respect limits, even when the temptation to exceed them arises. It reveals itself when a plan is maintained, even without immediate results. Unlike motivation, which fluctuates according to emotions, discipline remains firm even when enthusiasm wanes. It is what sustains progress when the process seems slow. Spiritually, discipline teaches patience. In a world that values quick results, the Bible guides us on paths of constancy. The absence of discipline generates repetitive cycles. A person gets organized for a while, improves a little, relaxes, returns to old habits, and becomes frustrated again. Discipline breaks this cycle because it creates structure. It transforms isolated decisions into a lifestyle aligned with purpose. Financial discipline also reveals priorities. When someone chooses to save before spending, plan before making commitments, and evaluate before deciding, they are demonstrating self-control. This control doesn't stem from fear, but from the awareness that the future is built on choices made in the present. The Bible teaches that those who are faithful in little become capable of managing more, and this faithfulness is sustained by discipline. If this content is already making sense to you and bringing clarity to your financial and spiritual life, please like it so that more people can be reached by these principles, and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving content that combines faith, wisdom, and practical decisions for everyday life. Your subscription helps the channel grow and allows this message to reach even further. Secret 4. Prosperity begins with awareness. Lack of awareness is one of the biggest causes of financial stagnation. Many people work, earn money, and even strive to get organized, but they don't know exactly what's happening with their resources. They live on autopilot, making repeated decisions without reflecting on their consequences. The Bible teaches us that wisdom begins when we understand our paths. And understanding in this context means knowing where the money goes, why it goes there, and what it is producing over time. Financial awareness is the ability to see one's own reality without filters, excuses, or illusions. It's about ceasing to treat money as something abstract and taking responsibility for every decision made. This level of clarity can be uncomfortable at first because it reveals patterns, excesses, and choices that previously went unnoticed. However, it is precisely this revelation that opens the way for true prosperity. The Bible repeatedly shows that light precedes transformation. Nothing changes while it remains hidden. When awareness deepens, the relationship with money changes. A person stops reacting and starts acting. Instead of just paying bills, they begin to understand the impact of each financial commitment. Instead of spending out of habit, they start spending intentionally. This process generates spiritual maturity because it teaches responsibility, prudence, and self-control. To prosper in this sense is not about accumulating, but about aligning resources with clear values and objectives. Secret 5. Time is a financial resource. Biblically, time has never been treated as something commonplace. It is presented as a gift, an opportunity, and a responsibility. Each day carries potential, and every choice made within that time generates consequences. Many people face financial difficulties not only because of wrong decisions with money, but also because of misguided decisions regarding the use of time. When time is wasted, the financial impact appears sooner or later. The use of time reveals priorities. Where time is invested, life grows. Where it is wasted, stagnation sets in. People who are constantly busy, but without direction, often feel they work hard and make little progress. This happens because activity is not synonymous with productivity. The Bible teaches us to redeem the time, that is, to use it wisely, intentionally, and purposefully. This guidance has profound financial value. When time is poorly managed, financial decisions become rushed. There's a lack of planning and improvisation abounds. Many unnecessary expenses stem from a lack of time to reflect, compare, or plan. Impulsive purchases, poorly evaluated contracts, and limited career choices are often the result of a disorganized routine where time is not respected as a strategic asset. On the other hand, when time is treated as wealth, financial life gains structure. Planning requires time. Learning requires time. Building requires time. The Bible values processes because processes build character, maturity, and wisdom. The desire for quick results often leads to dangerous shortcuts that compromise the future. Haste is costly, not only emotionally but financially. Time is also directly linked to professional growth and business. Investing time in training, learning, and personal development is one of the most solid ways to build prosperity. Many people seek immediate financial solutions but neglect continuous investment in their own growth. The Bible teaches that wisdom generates honor and prosperity, and wisdom is built over time. Secret 6. Wisdom that avoids pitfalls. One of the biggest financial mistakes is confusing impulse with direction. Many people make important decisions driven by the anxiety to solve everything quickly. They want to get out of the difficulty now, even if it compromises the future. The Bible teaches that prudence sees danger and moves away, while recklessness advances without evaluating the consequences. This difference in attitude defines completely different financial destinies over time. Biblical wisdom also warns us about decisions made in isolation. The absence of counsel is a common trap. Pride, haste, or fear of appearing insecure lead many people to decide alone, without listening to guidance. Financially, this generates poorly evaluated contracts, unbalanced partnerships, and limiting career choices. Wisdom teaches that listening does not diminish, it strengthens. Those who learn to seek guidance avoid losses that could take years to repair. Another very common type of trap is related to comparison. Seeing the financial progress of others can generate a feeling of falling behind, creating hasty decisions to reach a standard that doesn't match one's own reality. The Bible warns that each person has their own time, path, and process. When comparison reigns, wisdom is silenced and harm looms. Many debts arise from trying to live a reality that hasn't yet been built. Secret 7. The power of principles in difficult times. The Bible never promised a journey without challenges. On the contrary, it prepares the heart to face adversity with firmness. In difficult times, principles cease to be mere discourse and become practice. It is in this scenario that values such as honesty, discipline, faith, and responsibility are intensely tested. When crisis arrives, the temptation to abandon these principles also appears. Many believe that relaxing values is necessary to survive, but the Word teaches exactly the opposite, is principles that sustain survival and build the way out. Financially, difficult times reveal profound choices. When money is scarce, seemingly justifiable shortcuts appear. Small concessions, questionable decisions, commitments made without clarity. Pressure causes many to think only of immediate relief, ignoring future consequences. However, the Bible shows that those who remain firm in their principles, even under pressure, build a foundation that does not crumble in times of crisis. The strength of principles is revealed when someone chooses not to spend what they don't have, even when in need. When they decide not to lie, not to deceive, and not to compromise their integrity for momentary gain. These moments are silent, often invisible to others, but profoundly transformative. It is in this kind of loyalty that character is strengthened and the future is protected. In difficult times, principles act as anchors. They prevent impulsive decisions and keep a person aligned with a long-term vision. The Bible teaches that the righteous may face difficulties, but they will not be abandoned. This does not mean the absence of pain, but the presence of direction. Those who live by principles may walk more slowly during crisis, but they are walking in the right direction. Secret 8. Generosity as a spiritual strategy. Biblical generosity has never been presented as a consequence of abundance, but as an expression of trust. It is born when a person understands that money is not their source, only a resource. In difficult times, this understanding becomes even more powerful. While many close themselves off, harden themselves, and act only out of self-protection, generosity breaks this internal cycle of fear and scarcity. It does not ignore reality, but refuses to be governed by it. Generosity repositions the heart. The Bible teaches that where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. When someone chooses to be generous, even in a simple and responsible way, they are declaring that their security lies not only in what they possess, but in higher values. This inner movement generates freedom. The person stops living constantly in fear of loss and begins to live with a sense of purpose. Many people see generosity only as financial donation, but goes beyond that. It involves time, attention, support, and a willingness to serve. In a financial context, however, it acts as an antidote to greed and excessive attachment. Greed stems from the fear of not having a tomorrow. Generosity stems from the confidence that tomorrow depends not only on accumulation, but on the wisdom with which one lives today. Secret 9. Honesty that protects the future. The Bible treats honesty as the foundation of security. Where there is deceit, sooner or later there is ruin. Where there is truth, even amidst difficulties, there is stability. Many people face financial collapses not because they lacked effort, intelligence, or opportunities, but because small concessions to dishonesty were made along the way. Sometimes these are not major frauds, but subtle adjustments, omissions, internal justifications that seem harmless in the present, but exact a high price in the future. Financial dishonesty rarely begins explicitly. It usually arises in moments of pressure when the fear of loss or the desire for advantage speaks louder than principles. Omitted information, a poorly explained agreement, a promise that cannot be kept, a gain obtained in a questionable way. In the beginning, everything seems controllable. But the Bible teaches that what is built on weak foundations cannot stand. Honesty protects because it brings clarity. Honest people know exactly where they stand, what they can and cannot do. They don't need to maintain versions of events, hide decisions, or justify inconsistent choices. This transparency generates inner peace, and peace is essential for making wise financial decisions. Where there is falsehood, there is constant tension. Where there is truth, there is freedom to grow safely. In the realm of business and career, honesty becomes even more crucial. Dishonestly obtained results may seem advantageous in the short term, but they create instability. Relationships deteriorate, trust is lost, and legitimate opportunities cease to arise. The Bible values a good name above riches because character sustains what money alone cannot protect. A solid future demands an impeccable reputation. Secret 10. Building wealth with patience. Patience, in this context, is not passivity, but active perseverance. It's about continuing to do what is right even when the results are not yet visible. Financially, this requires maturity because human desire almost always seeks speed, shortcuts, and immediate rewards. Many financial frustrations stem from haste. Haste to get out of debt, haste to get rich, haste to achieve a standard of living that hasn't yet been built. This haste leads to impulsive decisions, poorly evaluated investments, excessive debt, and misguided career choices. The Bible warns that an inheritance obtained hastily diminishes, while that which is built with constancy grows solidly. Patience protects against decisions that seem good in the present but become burdens in the future. Building wealth with patience means respecting the timing of processes. It means understanding that each step has a purpose. The time spent organizing prepares for the time spent growing. The time spent disciplining sustains the time of expansion. The time spent waiting strengthens the character to manage more effectively. When someone tries to skip steps, they compromise not only financial results, but also the emotional and spiritual structure necessary to sustain them. Patience also teaches contentment, not in the sense of complacency, but of recognizing value in gradual progress. Patient people learn to celebrate small victories, a debt paid off, a habit adjusted, a savings plan started, a conscious decision made at the right time. These advances, though discreet, accumulate strength over time. The Bible shows that true growth often begins small, almost imperceptible, but becomes significant with perseverance. Secret 11. Money serving life's purpose. Throughout this journey, it has become clear that money has never been presented as an end in itself. It is a tool, a means, a resource. When someone lives only to accumulate, protect, or increase numbers, sooner or later they feel an emptiness that is difficult to explain. This happens because human beings were created for something greater than simple financial survival. Purpose gives meaning to effort, direction to decisions, and significance to results. Biblically, to prosper is to be aligned with the purpose for which one has been called. Money begins to serve this calling when it ceases to be the center of decisions and becomes an ally. People who understand this make different financial choices. They don't just ask how much it yields, but what it contributes to. They don't just evaluate the immediate gain, but the long-term impact on their own lives and the lives of others. When money serves its purpose, it ceases to be a constant source of anxiety. The pressure for more diminishes because there is clarity of direction. Success is no longer measured solely by lifestyle, but by consistency. The Bible teaches that each person has received specific talents, gifts, and opportunities. In this context, money becomes a resource to develop these talents and expand the reach of their impact. Businesses cease to be merely a source of profit and become instruments of service. Financial planning ceases to be just personal protection and begins to include a vision of legacy. When purpose guides, financial decisions become lighter because they are not disconnected from deeper values. When money stops being a burden and becomes a tool serving your life, everything changes. True prosperity is born when faith and practice walk hand in hand, generating peace, balance, and direction. If this message resonated with you, put these principles into action and allow this transformation to begin today. And before you leave, please like this post to support this content, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any transformative messages, and continue walking with us towards a more conscious, stable, and purpose-aligned financial future.